it seems like Ozempic is everywhere these days, doesn't it? And when your sister or your cousin or your neighbor down the street suddenly shows up 30 pounds lighter, it's hard not to be tempted to jump on board. Or maybe you've already started taking one of those new weight loss drugs. And even though you were initially worried about the potential side effects, you haven't actually experienced any of the really bad ones. So maybe you figure it's no big deal, especially when even your doctor is saying it's fine. But what if there's something they're not telling you? That is just one of the big topics I'm diving into today with my guest, Amy Wilson. She's a certified health and fitness coach, as well as a geriatric pharmacist, which means she brings a very unique perspective to this hot button topic. And what she has to share today is so important for women in their 40s and 50s that after listening, you might just want to share it with everyone you know. But I'll let you decide. Welcome to the Feel Better, Live Free podcast brought to you by Thinlicious. I'm your host, Ruth Sukup, and here we'll talk about everything from the science of weight loss to practical tips for making your health a priority in the midst of a busy life. It's a little bit nerdy, a little bit funny, and a little bit revolutionary. So buckle up, friend, because it's about to get real. Hey there, and welcome back to the Feel Better, Live Free podcast. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Ruth Sukup, and I'm the founder of Thinlicious and the creator of the Thin Adapted System, as well as the New York Times bestselling author of 7 books. And today we're going to be chatting with Amy K. Wilson, whose diverse background in both health and fitness and pharmacy makes her uniquely qualified to talk about a topic that's on a lot of people's minds these days, especially when it comes to losing weight. Ozempic and other similar weight loss drugs, and specifically what the long-term effect of taking these drugs will be. It's definitely a hot button issue, and Amy's perspective is one I haven't actually heard anyone else talking about, and I'm really excited to bring it to you. So without further ado, I am excited to be able to introduce you to today's interview guest, Amy K. Wilson. Amy, thank you so much for being here today.
Hey, Ruth, thanks so much for having me.
Yeah, I'm excited to talk to you. But first, I just want to hear kind of a little bit about your background. So tell us a little bit about what you do, how you got to be doing what you're doing now, and why you're doing it.
Well, I'll give you the long, short version, cliff notes, whatever you want to say. So I am a board certified geriatric pharmacist. I am a certified nutrition coach, and I am a certified fitness professional. I started teaching aerobics when I was 17. So
What?
I've been in this kind of realm for a long time. And it was like, well, how'd you get there? It was a course of evolution that I started teaching aerobics when I was in college going to pharmacy school, because I swear to God, I was not going to gain the freshman 15. And it just kind of went from there. But then I had a love-hate relationship with food and became an exercise addict. And then that led me down to my journey of being a nutrition coach and going through all the different phases of nutrition that have been throughout the years. And then, not only am I a coach to clients and women in the 40s and 50s and 60s, and actually have 80-year-olds. I do it virtually, so that's awesome. But my actual biggest, I would say my mission statement is not to help you lose weight. And I know people are gonna be like, what? Wait, that's what I'm all about. No, my mission is to keep you out of my nursing homes. And losing weight is not necessarily healthy. So my mission is to get you strong, to get you healthy, to lose inflammation, because I see the outcomes of what happens with poor nutrition.
Wow,
And
that's
that is
powerful.
not something that we want to do, or even not even poor nutrition, but over dieting and what we have done to our bodies with eating foods that we thought were healthy, with eating processed foods. So I call myself kind of a triple threat. We got the nutrition, we got the fitness, and we got the pharmacy, and I'm going to keep you out of my nursing homes.
I love that. I mean, how powerful is that to like literally see every single day the result of poor choices?
It's
Like,
heartbreaking.
yeah, I bet. I bet.
Especially when because I'll do admission reviews, and one of the things I look at is their date of birth. And I'm like, oh my God, they're younger than me, or they're my age. So Gen X, I'm seeing way too much Gen X in the nursing
Yeah.
homes. I'm seeing millennials in the nursing homes. And a lot of it has to do with diet and lifestyle.
Oh, that's heartbreaking. And I mean, it's scary and it's not that surprising considering like what the modern standard American diet has done to us, which we could probably talk about that all day. But I specifically, there's actually just based on that, there's lots of things that I want to ask you. But specifically, I want to make sure we get to this first because I know this is a topic that my clients want to talk about all the time, that people are just interested in, and because it's everywhere and everyone's talking about. But let's talk about weight loss drugs because your background with pharmacy and knowledge and stuff. So, first of all, like, what are your thoughts? We'll start broad and then we'll zone
Loaded
in from
question.
there.
Loaded question. I am a pharmacist who prefers that you're not on medication. And I know that
Like
may sound
pharmacy.
very weird. Medications have a purpose. They absolutely do. But if we can do things without medication, if we can prevent disease, if we can reverse disease, if we can get healthy and strong without medication, because I don't care what it is, all medications have side effects. And it may not happen to your best friend, but it could happen to you, or it could happen to somebody else. And my problem with diet drugs, if you look through the history of diet drugs, they don't have a good track record. A lot of them have been taken off because of heart attacks, for other issues, mental issues. So now we have a medication, the GLP-1s. We'll say that GLP-1s, Mounjaro, Ozempic, Wegovy. There's a plethora down the line. Yes, and yes, they've been around for quite a while. They've been around for quite a while in a tablet form, not in the weekly injection. That is relatively new. So we have these medications that were for type 2 diabetes that showed that they also cause a significant amount of weight loss. So everybody's like, sign me up. I want this. I want something. I want that. I won't say the easy button because if you're on this, I'm not condemning you. I understand. But I'm also going to give you the 360, the whole picture of what's going to happen and what you need to look out for and how you can prevent some of the issues. It doesn't make, it doesn't make you hungry. You all of a sudden don't have that appetite anymore. And for so many of us who have been on diets for years and are always starving and can't get anywhere, we're like, oh, this is, we think it's an answer to our prayers. But put the brakes on because there are side effects. And when you think about not eating, you're thinking, okay, that's great. That's how I'm going to lose weight. Remember when I said in the beginning, skinny's not healthy? So we're going to cause lifestyle diseases, the geriatric population in our 30s and 40s. We're going to increase our frailty because when you don't eat, your body is freaking smart. It knows what to do. We'll slow down your metabolism. Okay. But you're still not eating, so you're still losing weight. All right. So now you're losing muscle. Muscle is the fountain of youth. Muscle is what's going to keep you strong. Muscle is what's going to keep you out of my nursing homes. Muscle is also going to increase or decrease your metabolism. So if you add muscle, you increase it. You take that muscle away, you decrease it. Not only does your body need amino acids, which is getting from muscle, your body needs vitamins and minerals. And as a middle-aged woman, this should scare you because it's going to take it from your bones. So now you're looking at osteoporosis, osteopenia. You're looking at what I'm calling old lady syndrome. That's why we see people who look older who are on these medications. And they're like, oh, it's because, Ozempic face, Ozempic butt, right?
Yes.
But everyone's like, oh, because I lost fat. Yeah, you did. But guess what? These cheeks and those cheeks and behind, muscle. That's what gives it shape. And when it loses that, yeah, you're going to have that sunken in look. You're going to have that flat butt. I'll tell you, ladies, those glute muscles are so important. That's what's going to keep you from falling. That's what's going to help you get up. That's going to help you lift things. And so when we stop eating because of this medication, because we're trying to get that skinny, and I understand menopause sucks, perimenopause sucks. All of a sudden, things are coming out of nowhere. You're like, where did this stomach, how did I get this roll of fat in my back? I've never seen this before. I understand. I get it. That roller coaster is mentally challenging, physically challenging, it can bring you down. But I'm going to tell you, GLP-1s are not the savior that we think they are.
No. No, and this is something that I don't think gets talked about really at all that much, right? Like it's getting pushed everywhere. Doctors are pushing it. Everybody's talking about it. Everybody's taking it. Oh, it's great. It's great. It's great. It's great. It's great. And there's all sorts of money behind that huge push. And yet, like the long-term effects of that, even if you experience zero side effects, right? The long-term effects of exactly what you're saying, losing muscle that your body needs and not giving yourself the nutrients and taking it out of your bones and all and the weakness, the long-term effects of that, it's devastating. It actually makes me sick. And I don't say that with judgment either. I say that because my journey to lose weight and get healthy started a little more than 3 years ago, and it wasn't really a thing yet then, right? Like I'm so thankful because I wouldn't be sitting here doing this podcast if I hadn't gone through the process that I had of doing the research and figuring out like what actually works and reversing insulin resistance and all the things that have helped me to lose the weight and keep it off. But I would have been the first one in line for Ozempic. I know I would have because I was desperate. I understand that desperation of wanting to do something to finally have it be work. And if somebody would have said, you could just take this shot and you're going to lose all the weight, I would be like, great, sign me up. I don't care how much it costs. I don't care what. I just want to be skinny again. Like I just want to look good. Like that's all I cared about.
Yeah.
Now I care about so much more and I'm so thankful. But I also get it. I know me. I know that would have been me. And I feel bad. So what what do you do first of all? Like if you're already taking it, like what's the solution? If you're taking it and you're like, "Oh shoot, I do not want that to happen to me." So what happens next?
So if you're already taking it, okay, I want you to start giving a diary. And I know this is like people will be like, oh, that's what I hate. You guys see how much you're bringing in, meaning how much nutrition are you bringing in? Are you relying on quick fast food meals? Because I'll tell you, yes, you might be losing weight, but now you're causing chronic inflammation in your body, which is going to cause even more disease. So yes, you get skinny, but okay, now you can still get diabetes even when you're skinny because of inflammation, because of blood sugar imbalance. So the other thing too is how much protein are you getting? Because more than likely you're not getting protein in because that's the last thing you want to eat. When you're not hungry, when things don't taste good, when they don't look good, doesn't smell good, the last thing you want is protein. You got to get the protein somewhere. And if it shakes, not my favorite, but okay. But look at the quality of the shake. What's the ingredients? Is it a bunch of chemicals? Is it a bunch of artificial sweeteners, things like that? And look for quality food and start intaking and slowly build it up because you won't have an appetite. You might have to force your way to eat. The other thing too, if you're like, okay, how do I get off of this? Gradually get off of it and make sure that you are working with somebody because a lot of hormones are changed during this time. Ghrelin and leptin are kind of screwed up, which are your hunger hormones. And you want to make sure that you are eating, have a support system, and then you're also lifting weights. And I see people all the time, oh, I'm on it and I'm lifting weights. I'm like, but are you eating enough? Because if you're working out and not eating enough, your body needs nutrition. It's going to get it from the muscles. It's going to get it from you because you are not consuming. So be careful of working out and not getting enough nutrition. So if you start doing that workout, you start lifting weights, well, your body needs amino acids to build. If it doesn't have it, it's going to take it. So actually you're doing that lifting weights, you're not serving your body. You're actually using that muscle for fuel, and that's not what we want. So baby steps. I don't want anybody to go, oh my God, I'm throwing my shot away today. I'm going to stop. But talk to your doctor. Think about slowly coming off of it and working with somebody because will there be, and I know this scares you to death, is that will there possibly be a little bit of weight gain? Yeah, you might get a little bit, but I'll tell you what, the body that you want is muscular, has nothing to do with the scale. And the shape that you want is muscular, has nothing to do with the scale. So get off the scale, quit having that be your barometer as to whether you're happy or sad, because that is not what's going to tell you if you are healthy.
And yet easier said than done.
I know. Believe me, I had to get rid of my scale because it's easy. It's like, oh, I feel fluffy today. Let me get on the scale. And
Mhm.
that just can send you down that rabbit hole. Because believe me, I understand. It's like there are days I'm like, man, if I could just do Ozempic, get rid of these legs. They're genetic. And it's like,
Yeah.
but the thing is, like I said, I see the outcome of what happens with poor diet. I see what happens when you have females who didn't eat for the longest time. And now they're osteoporosis, they have no muscle mass, they fell, they broke a hip. I see what happens when you use diet, quote unquote, diet food that's ultra processed. And now we're looking at diabetes and heart disease and strokes. So we got to get back to the basics and understand that we can eat, because a lot of people said, but I tried everything. I've tried every diet. Yes, that's the problem. You tried every diet. That's
Yes.
the problem I had. I tried every diet. When I
Too.
start looking at it as nutrition and start looking at strength, it was a game changer,
Mhm.
because now I was fueling my body. Now I wasn't starving. Now I didn't feel guilty and think I had to do 100 burpees every when I had a chocolate chip cookie, or the next day I would have to starve myself to make up for a dinner I went out to. So it's changing your relationship with food, and it's also changing from a diet mentality to a nutrition mentality.
I love that. Uh, do you think that there's ever a point of no return? I mean, you're working with people who are basically end game, right? Like they've screwed it all up. They've had to go into a nursing home because they've so devastated their body. And obviously the preventative aspect of that, like I can see why that you would be so passionate about that.
Mhm.
But what do you like? Where is the point where you can't fix it anymore because you've done so much damage? There's been so many years of dieting and poor nutrition and abusing our bodies for the sake of trying to get skinny, that like where do we, like, is there ever a point where you can't fix it anymore, or have you seen people reverse this kind of stuff
I've
even?
s- I've seen some miraculous get my stuff together
Yeah.
and reverse. Is it rare? Absolutely. I kind of say that in our 40s and 50s, we have this special window of opportunity that we now have. We're at the crossroads. We can
Yeah.
continue as is and end up this path, or we can change and learn new ways and build an improved, better path that could possibly reverse disease. Now, will some people have things in their family? Absolutely, but genetics isn't everything. It's your environment, it's your nutrition. So if you're somebody who has, unfortunately, some people in my nursing homes, they've been on insulin forever, they never took care of themselves. There is, once you've been on insulin about 7, 8 years and been insulin dependent, there's no going back. And that's for type 2. Type 1, that's a whole different ball game, because that's autoimmune. But if you're type 2 diabetes, so if you got a diagnosis, your A1C is increasing. And by the way, that happens a lot of times in perimenopause and menopause. And we kind of freak out when we go back to our dieting ways and think we have to do no carbs, which is absolutely not true. And when you start kind of investigating, going with the science, because believe it or not, science tells us what we need to do. Our bodies are freaking smart, and we start using science with it, you can reverse that disease. So if you have a high 1A1C, you've been told you're pre-diabetic or diabetic, and it hasn't been too long, you absolutely have every opportunity to reverse that. Same with high blood pressure, same with high cholesterol. You absolutely can decrease and have better numbers. And we always say, like, lowest effective dose. Might have to be on some medication, but it's going to be the lowest effective dose. And, maybe if you're one of those that are able to decrease enough, you can get off that medication.
Right. So what are the medications that you feel like are the safest, the least damaging, the least have to be on them forever kind of medications, right? Because I'm very anti big pharma. So
Yeah. I
even
mean,
like talking to a pharmacist is like, I don't know, I might be crossing onto the dark side. But I I understand that there are times where medication is necessary, but I think my biggest problem with the pharmaceutical industry, right? Like the whole big industry, is that it's all designed now with these meds that they don't want to heal you.
No, it's to keep you sick.
They want to keep you sick and they
Mhm.
want to keep you dependent. So they want to alleviate the symptoms, but make sure that you keep taking them because, gosh, if they heal you, then you would stop. And how would they make any more money? And so, but I don't think that's actually how it always has been. So are there like older drugs that are actually very effective that are no
No,
longer under
no. So
patents?
what you have to
No?
remember is that medication, for the most part, is a treatment but not a cure.
Mm-hmm.
And in America, we're like, one pill is great, three must be better.
Mm-hmm.
Why do the work when we can pop something? You know,
Mm-hmm.
how many times do you hear it's like, this is the latest supplement that's going to help you lose weight. This is the latest supplement that's going to help you with memory. This is the latest supplement, right? We want something besides our what we eat internally, what we
Besides having to
do.
actually like change what we eat or do
Yeah.
any like actual
So
work.
let's change
Yeah.
what we eat. Now, if your blood pressure is still high, then yes, there are some medications to take to decrease that. But the thing is, you should never rely on just the medication. It has to start within you first. It has to start with nutrition. It has to start with fitness. And then if you've done everything and you still need a little bit of medication, okay, that's fine. The problem is that we go to medication right away. We do
Mhm.
that first. And then we're like, oh, but if you want to do diet and exercise, that's fine. Look at every single diabetes, heart disease commercial on TV. They always say in conjunction with diet and exercise. But it's like in this like blah, 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 diet exercise.
Very small,
Very, very
very
fast,
small print.
very quick. And that's not what they're focusing on. They're focusing on the medication. So if we can focus on the diet and exercise and the medication is second or third, and then once again, we're looking at the lowest effective dose because every medication will still have side effects. And what we want to do is alleviate those side effects.
Right. Right. So there aren't any specific ones that you would say like these ones I'm like okay with, these ones I would absolutely stay away from, you know.
Well, and what happens is when someone goes to the doctor and they go, oh, hey, you're pre-diabetic, your A1C, here's metformin. Here's this. And instead of saying, hey, let's give you 6 months to see if you can get your A1C down first. And is metformin safe? Most part, but it still has side effects. Same with blood pressure medication. Everybody's different on what they're going to start you with. Most of the time, it's what's called an ACE inhibitor, something like lisinopril. But maybe you can go for a daily walk, help your stress, start eating more fruits and vegetables, get rid of the processed foods, decrease the inflammation. I can't tell you how many clients I have that I start having to make them take their blood pressure daily when I first start with them, because when we change their diet dramatically in the first 2 weeks with going with whole food nutrition, all of a sudden their blood pressure comes way down. And I needed them to start looking at it and talking to their doctor because it almost gets too low, because
Right.
now they're decreasing their blood pressure on their own, but they're also taking their medication, which is also decreasing their blood pressure. And now we're looking at too low. That's just in 2 weeks.
Right.
It's
Like it doesn't
amazing
even
what you
take
can
that long.
do in 2 weeks.
Yeah. Yeah. So I mean, you know that because that like you're working with people every day. I see that every day in our program. But why do you think it's so hard for people to grasp the idea that you can actually change your lifestyle and change your life and change your long-term health prognosis, increase your longevity, increase your energy, it, improve all of these markers, improve blood pressure, like whatever it is that you're struggling with, the inflammation, the chronic pain that people are dealing with, right? Like the gut issues, the heart, like the list goes on and on and on and on.
Yeah.
Why is it still so hard? Like, number one, why is it even like considered alternative that we're talking about diet
Right. Yeah.
versus just popping a pill? And number two, why is it so hard for people to make that shift? Do
We
you think?
have been trained to be dependent on things that come fast, and that things should be easy, that you shouldn't have to work for things. And you should be able to go through the drive-through. You should be able to get something that's pre-made at the grocery store because you're busy. You're a super mom. You're doing this. And that has formed into almost your psyche or habits. And so now we're trying to peel back all the layers of the onion and be like, okay, no, you can cook. You don't have to make elaborate meals, but you can. You can find 30 minutes to work out. And it's changing the habits, it's changing your identity. And that's not easy. That's what I always say is like, do it with somebody, get a coach, work with a program. Because if it's something that says, hey, all you have to do is follow this for 10 days and everything is going to be magical and you're going to get your genes and blah, blah, blah. I'm going to tell you right now, it's not going to work. It's
Yeah.
not going to work. And that's what sets us up for failure in perimenopause and
Every
menopause.
single time.
Every
And
single
because
time.
every time you do that, you're actually making the problem worse. You're messing
Yes.
with your metabolism. You're like all of screwing up your hormones even more, not getting the right nutrients, so damaging your muscles and your bones. Like there's the, I get it. And I look at how many years I spent on that train of diet after diet, and I always wanted the quick fix. I always wanted the give me 10 days of smoothies. Okay, I'm in, right? Like if I can lose 20 pounds in 10 days, then I think that's great. And yet, like now I'm like, I'm horrified at myself, but also I go, well, how do we fix that as a
Well, and what was your
culture?
deciding factor? Because I think that has a lot to do with our personalities. Because I'm
Mhm.
sure you see it in your clients, I see it in my clients. I know from the week one, my clients that will rock, who are like, I'm not doing this anymore. I am changing. I am going all in. I understand. I understand how food works. I understand how it works with my body. And then I'll have those clients who, for lack of a better term, make excuses constantly. Well, I had to go out with some friends and they have the best breadsticks. They have the
Yeah.
best wine here. And
Mhm.
they try to justify everything instead of saying, you know what? No, I'm taking care of me. And I know how this food's going to make me feel. I know it's going to cause inflammation. I know it's going to put me 3 weeks behind because of all the inflammatory markers that are coming back. So there's a definite kind of like trigger that gets hit. It's like, I'm done with this. I'm no
Yes.
longer making excuses. I'm taking responsibility for my health, and I am going to do this once and for all. And I
Yes.
think I had that point where now I look at that going, man, I used to make the excuses. Oh, we're going out with friends, or we're going to have this, and yeah, I still go out with friends. I just make better decisions. And
Right.
I'm sure it's probably something with you too. It's like something triggered, and you're like, I'm not living like this anymore.
It was actually what for me, I think the trigger of like not wanting to diet anymore. Because I had, I was had struggled and struggled and struggled, but I have teenage daughters and
Mhm.
they are now 15 and 17. But at the time when I started this journey, they were 11 and 14 or whatever, right? Like just at the age where they were starting to notice. Because when your kids are smaller, they don't like your kids are oblivious to what their parents do. But then your daughters get a little older and they're watching you. And I'm like, I am not gonna raise my daughters with the same food issues that I've had, right? Like I'm not gonna, this is cycle has to end. And so it was, what can I do? How can I change my lifestyle so that I'm still cooking the same food for all of us so that and it just led me down this rabbit hole of research and wanting to really understand like what's actually happening with my body. And I'm so, again, so thankful for that and so thankful that it happened at the time that it did. But I I get it, right? Like that's exactly what you're saying. Like there had to be a market shift in my psyche where I was done trying to get a quick fix. I was like, however long it takes is however long it's going to take. Like I'm going to be happy wherever I am, however I am, and I am going to also in front of my girls never disparage myself, right? Never
Mhm.
say, "Oh, I feel so fat," or "I don't look good," or whatever. And even like my husband and I had the conversation of um like you like you need to compliment me in front of them, right? Like
Yeah.
just like we needed to like change our whole family dynamic around food and weight because my husband, he's the same way. He struggles with this weight. We've gone on lots of diets together, and I'm like, we really like we do not want our kids to grow up with issues, so we're going to do this, make this change for them. And for us that was the catalyst. But
Yeah.
yeah, I think
It's
everybody has their moment.
it's changing that narrative. It really is. And there's such a disconnect sometimes of we don't think about what we put in our body and the outcome. We're like, oh, well, this is the food, it's going to make me fat, or this is the food, it will help make me skinny. We don't think this is the food is causing inflammation that could cause stroke, gut microbiome issues, diabetes, heart disease. Um, I don't put enough food of protein, et cetera, in my body, so therefore my muscles can't grow. I don't get enough carbs, therefore my thyroid doesn't function. We don't think about that. There's that disconnect. But when you start putting the dots together, going, oh, this is why I was so tired. This is why I have brain fog. This is why my joints hurt. This is why I'm suffering from migraines all the time. This is
Yes.
why I crash at 1:30 p.m. every single day. And
Yes.
you don't realize is that the food that you're consuming is doing that. And then once you put two and two together, you're like, oh, start eating whole foods, start balancing my blood sugar, start eating the things that I need to. And you're like, oh, wait, how did I lose inches around my waist? I wasn't even trying.
Right.
And
Right.
then it's like, oh my
Really
gosh,
different.
it's just when that light bulb clicks, that light bulb clicks, but it takes, unfortunately, it's not a pill that you can pop, an easy remedy. It takes a
No,
little bit to get there.
it does. I mean, and I say that too, like if you would wake up one day and you find yourself 50 pounds overweight and you got inflammation everywhere and you feel like crap and you're like, gosh, what happened to me? Right. Like if it happened overnight, I think we'd all be like, okay, we got to do something drastic. But I think because it's like this slow burn of just feeling worse and worse and worse, you start to think that it's normal when it's
Hmm.
actually it's not normal. You don't have to feel like exhausted at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. You don't have to like have chronic pain all the time. There's so many things that and exactly what you're saying is right. When you change your approach to going, how do I nourish my body? What's the foods that I can eat that will actually nourish me, nourish my hormones, nourish every part of me, heal my gut? It's completely like the weight becomes the like side effect, and it's
Right.
not even that hard, right? Like when you're focused on all the other things, it's
Uh, And what I love to tell people is if you are rationalizing why you feel bad, why you don't have energy, it's my kids, my husband, why you have a headache, why is this? Start thinking, let's go back to the basics. It could be your food. And you're just not thinking that because you're thinking it's work, it's something else, it's my job, it's it's the babysitter, it's the kids, it's the dog. We think of all the other things besides, hey, maybe it's what I'm eating or what I'm not eating. And maybe it's the lack of exercise. I'm sitting all day, I'm not moving my body. And we want to think it's everything else except coming down to the core, and that's our nutrition and fitness.
So what percentage would you say is nutrition versus fitness?
I'm 80/20. So 80% nutrition. I am one of those people who blew my back out at 29, trying to outtrain a bad diet. You can't
Mm,
do it. You can't do
no.
it. You have to have the fuel, you have to have the nutrition in order to have the fitness. Let me repeat that. You have to have the nutrition in order to have the fitness. In order for me to keep my muscle mass, in order for me to build muscle, I have to have that nutrition. So it's 80/20. Now, do you need to move your body every day? Absolutely. Should you walk every day? Absolutely. But when it comes down to it, you really need to focus on what you're eating, because if all you're doing is putting crap in your body, then you're increasing your inflammation. You won't have energy, you won't be building muscle, and you'll just be constantly feeling in this state of trying. I always say chasing skinny. You're trying to chase skinny and it's not going to happen.
Right. Right. So what you started out as an aerobics instructor, blew your back out at 29. What kind of exercise are you like gung ho on now, especially for more midlife women?
Lifting.
Lifting.
Lifting weights is so important. I wish I would have started doing that in my 20s, but back then it was all about aerobics. It was,
Mhm.
it was leg warmers and leotards. So and I have this conversation a lot because I still do teach. And yes, okay, yes, you can go to these classes and lift little 8-pound weights, but I'm going to challenge every single person in here. Start lifting weights. Yes, maybe you start with 8 pounds, but maybe you can go to 10, maybe you can go 12.5. give your body a challenge. And if you're eating right, you're going to be able to increase how much weight you're lifting. And that's huge because once again, we want to keep that muscle and we want to build that muscle. Now, do you need cardiovascular? Sure. But if you are doing HIIT every single day, that's not good for your hormones. It's
Mhm.
not good for your thyroid. HIIT is great twice a week to get that cardiovascular in. Walking every day for cardiovascular, amazing. If you do Peloton or cycle, don't be doing those HIIT and Tabata workouts every single day. Put some weights in there. You need to do, and I'm not talking about the weights on the bike, not those little 3 pounds doing a little weight. That's
Those don't count, like real
those
weight,
don't count. I'm talking about
like
actually,
boy weights.
yeah, actually lift weights. And I think for us who are Gen X growing up, it was like, oh, you don't want to look like a boy. You don't want to lift, but that's the last thing it's going to do. It's actually going to help you give the shape that you want, and it's going to keep you out of the nursing homes, and it's your fountain of youth. That's what actually keeps you looking younger.
Yes, 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 yes. So why do you think so many women like are really averse to weights? I mean, I don't think it's just the like, I don't want to be muscular and bulky. Like, I mean, an 8 pound weight is not going to make you muscular and
We've
bulky.
been fed
So
a lie. It's the Stairmaster is going to make you
yeah,
skinny. The elliptical is going to make you skinny. I mean, when the elliptical
argue
came
your
out, it
way
was
to
like, burn
skinny.
all these calories because we're so stuck on calories and burning calories. Burn all these calories without doing damage to your knees. Do these classes for hours because you're going to burn so many calories. We got to get out of the burn calorie mentality because it's not all about calories in versus calories out. It's about the nutrition that you take in. It's about the macronutrients, the fat, the carbs, the protein that you take in. And it's about giving your body what it needs. Your body needs muscle to support your bones. So if you want to prevent osteoporosis, you want to keep walking, you want to be able to pick up that luggage and put in the overhead bin, you need muscle. And ladies, we are not built to get bulky.
No,
Very, 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 very,
not
very
gonna happen.
rare if someone gets bulky. It's very hard to do, and usually they have help. And with
Yes.
us, what we have, weight training is what's going to help perimenopause. Weight training is going to help you in menopause and beyond.
Okay. So far we have stay away from Ozempic,
Mhm.
eat to nourish your body, and lift weights.
Yeah,
That's like the
it's a
secret to life
secret.
right there,
It
to
is.
staying out of the nursing home.
Right.
Which I mean, like, why don't we talk about that more? I think there should
It's
be like required, like, I mean, you know how they do those like scared straight things for like teenagers where they take them to the max prison, like the juvenile delinquents, and they take them to prisons to like scare them into what will happen to them if they continue down the path. Have you heard of those programs
yeah,
before?
but it doesn't make money. It does
Oh,
not make money.
no, but
And
that should be required for all of us to realize that is our future if you don't handle this now. Like you
the
are,
diet industry is $3 billion. Who knows what big pharma is right now? It's it's not something healthy does not make money.
no, it
Healthy
doesn't.
helps you keep your money. I'll tell you that right there. Healthy is what's going to help you keep your money.
Yes, speak
And
to
that,
that
yeah,
because people, that is one of the things, right? That you probably hear this too, right? Oh, I can't afford it. It's too expensive to eat healthy. It's too expensive. Your program is too expensive. I can't afford this. Like my response is like, how can you afford not to? But what do
do.
you say?
Yeah, same thing. What do you, okay? So you don't pay for it now, you'll pay for it later with interest. That's the problem. And you're going to pay for it by not being able to live, meaning that you're going to be in a chair. Maybe you're going to be immobile. Maybe you're going to be in a bed because I'll tell you, nursing home life is not living. It's
Mhm.
not living at all. I think most of us want to be active in our later years. Most of us would like to go to the beach, would like to travel, would like to do stuff. Maybe it's with your grandkids or your kids. You don't want to be a bystander on the sidelines watching life pass you by. That's
No.
expensive. That's expensive and it's depressing. And if you can spend a couple extra bucks right now to prevent that, you will save money in the future because nursing homes, 5 grand a month, assisted living, even more. So, home health nurses, what if you could live on your own? What if you could be, Betty White, 90 some years old, William Shatner, 90 some years old? These people who are just still have all their facilities with them, still are, you know, Betty White, I think, was active until her last year. So what if you could do that instead of having 20 years or more that you're not able to do anything? That's expensive and
Yeah.
sad.
Something we don't always think about. Oh my gosh, Amy, I feel like we could probably talk about this stuff all. But why don't you tell us where we can find you online, like what all the things? Tell us all the things.
Well, if you would like to have, I'll give you a 5-day blueprint. I call it the Fat Loss Blueprint that has lots of recipes and kind of went over some of the things that we talked about today. You can either hit me up on my website at amykwilson.com. That's AMYKWILSON.com. Or I'm on Instagram at the Nutrition Coach Pharmacist. Would love a follow. Just send me a message that you heard me on this podcast, and I would love to send you the blueprint.
Awesome. And we will make sure to add all of that to the show notes as well. Amy, thank you so much for all your expertise today. It was so great to talk to you and wish you the best.
Thanks for having me.
All right, guys, that about does it for this episode. I hope that you found this discussion as insightful and interesting as I did. And if you know anyone else who might benefit from listening, please be sure to send it their way. Then be sure to subscribe to the podcast to be notified of future new episodes. Feel free to leave a review anywhere you like to listen, and I will see you back here for another new episode very soon.